Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Forward Corporation and T.R. McTaggart, Angler Quest Boats, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. So glad to have you along with us. So glad to be able to talk about the great outdoors, the history and tradition of hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping and all things outdoors, all things fun, all things biologically sound, all things biologically necessary, all things legal, all things ethical, even ordained by God, if you want to go that route, and I do. So many bad things going on in the world these days. You don't have to look very far, right? I mean, 2020 has not been the best year. Let's face it. 2020 has not been the best year so far. But there's still a lot of good things going on in this world. A lot of good things going on in the outdoors. And especially this year, I view the outdoors, whether it's in the woods, in the field, on the water, on the creek, on the river, on the lake, on the pond. I know it's a creek, but I'm going to say creek until I die. What a great way to get away from all of these other things going on in the world. You don't have to wear a mask when you're on the water, right? You don't have to worry about social distancing when you're in the woods. That's why I love it. I mean, I loved it before all of this other stuff, but now even more. And I have had a chance, since we last talked, to be on the water a few days, enjoying it tremendously. You know me. You know I'm a Saginaw Bay walleye guy. You know I'm an Angler Quest guy. But regardless of where you are, I don't care what kind of gear, what kind of equipment, what kind of water you're fishing. But for me, it's Saginaw Bay walleye on the Angler Quest. In fact, I get grief from people who say, quit talking about it. Well, I apologize for that, but that's what I do. And I talk about what I do. If this show was as big as it is now, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I would have been talking about Lake Michigan salmon fishing. I had some wonderful days on the water. I tell you what, it's an interesting summer for me this year because my traditional hot spots are not hot. In fact, in some places, they're downright cold. My beloved skinny water that I've done so well in for the past several years, that used to be 7 feet of water, 7 to 9 feet of water. I could always troll through there, always get fish. Number 7 flicker shads and purple Hottentots. 25 to 40 feet behind the boards. I mean, it was like a machine. You could count on it. That water is not producing anymore. But now that water is like 10 or 11 feet deep. Is that a factor? I have to believe that is indeed a factor. Well, and then you would think, well, listen, why don't you just then troll closer to shore where the water is shallower? You know, find your 7 feet of water up by shore, which I have tried several times, and it's not producing. I don't know why. Do you? If so, please feel free to pass it along, because I'm not smart enough to figure it out. So, since my hot spots have been dead, my skinny water hot spots, I've been exploring. Been out to Callahan. Been out to the Spark Plug. Now, the Spark Plug's a pretty decent place, right? The Slot over on the east side of the bay has been very good. I found myself my last time out over in the sailboat buoys, which I have not fished at all this summer. Took a couple of fish in there and then moved west to 19 feet of water, just about straight out from Linwood Beach Marina and a little bit south. Did about a 2 or 3 mile troll to the south. And we got fish. Number 7 flicker shads, of course, which has become my go-to bait. But I was also running 2 colors of lead core with spoons at the same time, running the flicker shads, and we got fish. In fact, it was a very special trip because I had Dr. Kelly Wirsing and her family out with me. She is a surgeon who specializes in the treatment of breast cancer. She won the trip with me as the highest bidder last fall, in the Real Men Wear Pink online auction to fight breast cancer. So it was very special to have her and her family out there. And then I found out she's a hardcore fisherman. Well, she's a fisher person. She's a hardcore angler. In fact, she's coming up here at the end of the first hour. I want you to meet her on the air here. She's a very, very cool person. So continuing to pick away at it. I had hoped to fish here in the next couple of days. The forecast calls for a pretty good blow. But as I was saying last week, right? As I get older, you think I'd get smarter, and I'm actually a year older Saturday. Don't change your plans based on a forecast, right? Well, we'll see. Have you heard that we have 3 new NRC commissioners here in Michigan, Natural Resources Commission commissioners? Carol Rose, J.R. Richardson, and Mike Lashbrook. They were appointed by the governor. Of course, the politicians can now go through their advice and consent process if they want to, and vet these people and maybe get rid of them like they did the 2 previous appointees. I hope they don't. I know Carol Rose. I think she is a wonderful choice. She's on the Michigan Wildlife Council. She was chairman of that council. I think she was the first chair of the Michigan Wildlife Council. Board of directors for MUCC, a hunter, an angler, and I think a very good choice. I feel very comfortable with her. J.R. Richardson, a name that has been around the outdoor world here in Michigan for a long time because he's been on the NRC previously for a long time, and he was chair of the NRC, if I remember right. Not everybody is blatantly in love with him. However, here's what I say to that. When you have a position, a title like he has on the NRC for so many years, you are going to alienate some people. I don't care how good of a job you're doing. You're never going to make everybody happy. And he's been high profile long enough that there are some people who say, well, I don't like what he did on this issue. I don't like what he did on that issue. But I think he's a good choice. At least we know him, right? He doesn't come out of the blue and surprise us like the former mayor of George Hartwell, former mayor of Grand Rapids. Now, Mike Lashbrook, the 3rd appointee, I do not know at all. He's a lobbyist for, I think, out of Grand Rapids area for the beer and wine industry. That wouldn't seem to qualify him, but he's a member of Trout Unlimited and one other group, so, I don't know him, so I don't know what to say. But the other 2, Carol and JR, I think are good choices. So we will. I don't think we're going to get the uproar this time around that we did previously. I got my bear rug back. Scott Keatsman at Linwood Taxidermy did a wonderful job, Scott. I appreciate that. LinwoodTaxidermy.com. That was what I'm calling a big sow. She was 260 pounds plus that I shot up in Ontario with my recurve last August. We will not be back up there this year because of the whole COVID thing, which has changed so much in our world, right? But I'm still very optimistic that come July 6th, I will get the good news that I have a Michigan bear tag. I do not expect on July 6th I will find out that I have a Michigan elk tag. But some of you will. That's when they announce the Michigan elk and bear tags. Somebody listening to my voice right now will probably have a Michigan elk tag. And lots of somebody's listening to my voice right now will have Michigan bear tags. And hopefully I will be one of them. So that's coming up July 6th. A little bit later in the show, as part of the Ask Avery segment, I'm going to address criticism leveled my way, but I want to talk about it very briefly right now. I posted a picture. It might have been me and Nick Grillo holding some few walleye, a couple of walleye from Saginaw Bay, or it might have been Mike Grillo and Nick Grillo holding some fish they caught with me. And I had a lady post that we are terrible people. Terrible. Because you're keeping fish. She said her dad taught her it's okay to fish, but you never, ever keep or take fish. And she said, you guys, you are terrible people for taking those fish. Wow. And listen, there are some bodies of water, there are some fisheries where you can hurt the resource by taking fish. There's no doubt about it. You know, talk about the holy waters of the Asable. Flies-only areas. Nobody would ever dream of taking a fish out of there. I get that, and there's a reason for that. And honestly, I don't take that many fish. I throw a lot of them back because I'll tell you a secret. I don't like fish. I love to catch fish, but I don't like to eat fish. And I don't want to clean them if I don't like to eat them. So I bring very, very few fish home. Now, when I have people fishing with me, do we keep some fish? Absolutely. Sure. There are 5.5 million adult walleye, 2 years and older, in Saginaw Bay right now. Recreational anglers, hook and line anglers, catch about 300,000 of them a year, depending on the ice conditions. We're not hurting those fish. So you got to know what you're talking about before you start criticizing people. Taking a few fish out of Saginaw Bay to put on the table, on the grill, in the freezer, or Lake Erie, or Lake St. Clair, or Lake Michigan, or Lake Superior, or Lake Huron, doesn't hurt the resource. So before you start leveling criticisms, at least know what you're talking about before you open your mouth. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, Glen Duncan of Duncan's Outdoor Shop in Bay City, they're back to business. But talking to Glenn the other day, the business they're doing is not what I would have expected. We'll talk with him. And then Dr. Kelly Wirsing, the surgeon who went with me a couple of days ago, will help wrap up the hour right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Lansing on WILS. That's 1320 AM. You can hear us in Port Huron on WPHM 1380 AM. And north of the bridge in Newberry, WNBY 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Great Lakes Charter Training. If you've ever wanted to be a licensed captain, I think this is the way to go. It helped me get my captain's license, and I could not have done it without Captain Mel Stackpool and his lineup of outstanding instructors. Their opening class is back up now. They're getting them going across the state. It's about a 7 to 9 day, pretty intensive class. You're going to be in there most of the day. Very little homework though, and they will help you walk through the process step by step. They'll also help you with your paperwork, which is a nightmare in itself. They'll even go over your paperwork before you submit it to the Coast Guard to make sure the process is as smooth as possible. I highly, highly recommend these folks if you want to get your license to be a charter captain. The website, glctraining.com. That's glctraining.com. While you're online, I would ask you to check out my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. And also Duncan'sOutdoor.com. Duncan'sOutdoor.com, the website of Duncan's Outdoor Shop in Bay City. Glen Duncan, the guy at the helm these days, and with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Glen, how are you? Welcome back.
Nice. Really great. How you, Captain Mike?
Captain Mike. Yeah, Captain Mike. I got to get myself a hat like the skipper on Gilligan's Island did.
Just make it last more than 3 hours.
Yeah, 3 hour tour. How about a 30-year tour? That's what I want here.
That's right. That sounds even better.
Hey, listen, last time we talked on the air, it was kind of sad because you were closing things down because of the whole COVID situation temporarily. Like most gun shops across the state, you're back open now. But I wanted to check in and see how things are going. And we had an off-the-air conversation yesterday I found very interesting. So let me start from square one. How are things going now that the doors are back open?
Going good. We're still doing curbside for the people that do not want to come in, and we understand that there's still a lot of not knowing knowledge of what the virus is, and we understand that big time. So curbside is still going. Coming inside, we're allowing inside sales now, so you get a chance to look at more guns and stuff. The only thing that we're doing that's still kind of hard for some people is that when you pull in the parking lot, we want you to call and so that we don't have too many people in the building, so you have your space around you. And that's, for some people, that's still a little hard. The rifle range is open now. The pistol ranges where you need to call if you want to if you want to call ahead for a reservation for a lane on the range, you can do that on the pistol range, because we can only use every other lane, and we don't want a bunch of people standing around again trying to get close together. And so we're trying to keep it so that you can come on the range and you're not waiting a long time to get on the range. So that's a lot of new things we're doing, just trying to keep everybody safe.
Well, you're dealing with the guidelines of social distancing, but how about the business itself? How about sales? Are people buying right now?
People are buying. They're not buying as too much in hunting to speak of. The hunting rifles and the hunting shotguns are more the tactical shotguns, more the carry pistols or home protection pistol. People right now have a little bit extra money, and so it's been great that they have wanted to get a pistol or wanted to get a shotgun for the home and stuff, and they have the money now, and so they're coming in. So it's been great.
Is that unusual, though? I mean, this time of year, would people normally be thinking about hunting guns, or would it be something else?
No, this time of year, we're not thinking hunting at all. Normally, we're thinking more about getting ready to go out for the summer and that, but with people actually having the extra money, that they have the ability now to buy the gun that they've been waiting for. They have the $300 or the $700 in that neighborhood of extra money that they feel comfortable about spending. And it's really nice when you feel comfortable about buying something for your home.
So, is this because, see, I was thinking from talking with you earlier that this was kind of a little bit out of the ordinary what people were buying right now, but you say this is right in the normal lane?
Well, it's out of normal because the time of the year, and they're this time of year we should be slow, and we're not, and so people are trying to get guns in. There's probably 30 guns that's the most popular guns, and that's what everybody wants to try to get, but the variety that they're buying is what fits their budget, and so it's been a good move for us, and it's a good for everybody else, because everybody still is having sales and stuff on older models, and older models, there's nothing wrong with them. They're just maybe not have that super light trigger pull as the newer model does.
Can you tell the pulse or the temperature of society by what people buy when they come in the door, what they look at?
Yes, we can. Right now, because they're buying more carry guns, more small guns, more guns for personal protection, not to target shoot with that, we know that there's a little bit of a threat out there. They feel not comfortable about right now with all this thing with the police and not being able to do their job right. And just everybody's kind of scared right now what's going on.
Yeah, a lot of questions out there right now, that's for sure.
Oh, it's terrible.
What about ammo, Glenn?
Ammo, it is getting low. We are lucky as hell that and I got to say it that way, because early this year we bought pallets of ammo and stuff, and right after we saw things start picking up, we put on a limit of 1 and 2 boxes on some calibers and that, knowingly that we didn't want to run out. We wanted to make sure everybody has ammo and stuff, and so we've been lucky that we keep getting big quantities of ammo in, but again, we're limited per person and stuff, just trying to keep it so that everybody can have ammo. Rifle ammo has picked up sales a little bit right now, and that's really kind of strange. Again, people are thinking, number one, they have extra money right now. Let's use this extra money that our government was nice enough to give us. And the second part is that with other people buying their rifle ammo now, people are kind of getting worried there might be a little bit of shortage on rifle ammo for deer season.
Are we looking at another ammo shortage coming up?
If the push keeps going the way it is, yes, we are. And all the manufacturers, this is really sad. In January and February, when I was traveling and trying to figure out what not to buy, and it's a strange statement to say, but we're thinking, what do we need to get by this year in January and February? We have a lot of inventory. The manufacturers we're talking with guns and ammo both are, in January and February, we're talking about cutting back production and everything else, and then all of a sudden all this happened, and now we want them to get back to work and get working full time, and some of the plants shut down because of the virus, because there's not enough space between the machines and people working in the different departments and stuff. And so that slowed down how much guns were being made right now and ammo being made. So that's going to show up in the pipeline down the road.
Yeah, because if I remember right, there was I don't want to say a glut, but there were an awful lot of guns out there on the market that there wasn't a market for. And then the ammo, of course, there was a shortage. The companies wrapped up their production there, and then there was a glut of ammo. This whole thing is like it's a constant cycle, isn't it?
Oh, it's not a cycle. It's just a roller coaster, and we don't know where the lumps are. They're building that new roller coaster every day and changing where the lumps are, and so it's been just a neat ride, but a ride that people call me every day and they ask me, and my response sometimes is, if your crystal ball is clearer than mine, please tell me what it says.
Well, what about CPL classes? Are you guys doing those in person yet? Can you do them yet?
No, because the CPL, for us to be able to do a class, we want to go and actually work with you, and some people need that closer working with and stuff, and what the way the virus rules are and stuff. We can't do a good job. We're not just going to get you through a class and get you out on the road. We want you actually, like all of our classes, and Mike, you took it and stuff. If we can't get you to this level, we don't really want to do it. Now, every day we're still doing renewals, and so if you already have a CPL, you can come in and call ahead, and they'll schedule it, and there's times the daytime, and we have you spread apart so that we meet all the requirements for the virus. And so, but we can do the renewals right now. We're looking in probably October at the latest, and we're hoping before then, September, October area, to start our next classes again. But in place the CPL classes right now, we're starting, I think it's July the 22nd. We're going to do what they call first shot programs. So new shooters and that, we're going to do small groups at a time. We used to do the big groups of 30 and 40 people for first shots, and we're going to change that to 4 to 6 people and do a first shot program, so they'll learn how to shoot and know everything in the beginning and part of the CPL, have the comfort that they know how to use their gun, and then stop, because that is, again, we can do it in very small groups.
Speaking of CPL renewals, mine just came up for renewal, and this is the first time I had renewed it under the new system where it's under the state police.
Right.
Boy, I talk about an easy process doing it online. It was a breeze.
Well, the problem is while we're doing the classes and stuff, and it's the important part of that, you can go online and fill out the application, and you're signing that you studied for 3 hours, and you're signing that you shot for an hour. If you have no way to prove that, you just put your signature on a document that if for some reason you protect yourself, the attorneys on the other side are going to say, tell us about your renewal. Tell us how you did it. And you're going to say, I did it online, and I paid my money, and that's all I did. And they're going to say, you broke the law, and now we're going to get you.
That's a very interesting point.
In the CPL, then when they wrote it years ago, they did it for attorneys. And I fought then, and was in Lansing and meetings and stuff, that you're making that section, you're not putting any teeth in it until after the fact. And they, well, we really don't care. And that wasn't what I really wanted to see. So that's why we do this class. It's $25 to go through the video. We have Jeff Strout, that famous guy, known for Michigan, that the top attorney from the prosecuting attorney's office, that really keeps up to date with all the new laws with CPL and stuff. He in his lecture tries to scare you, because he wants you to really think about when you do use your gun, what you're doing, and then in the middle of that, when you're transporting your gun, to remind you what all the laws and stuff are.
I've heard him talk. When I was in your class, he talked, and he does open your eyes. Hang tight, Glenn. We got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. We're talking with Glen Duncan of Duncan's Outdoor Shop in Bay City, duncansoutdoor.com, duncansoutdoor.com. A few more questions for Glenn after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Traverse City on WTCM. That's 580 AM. You can hear us in Sandusky on WMIC 660 AM. And north of the bridge in Marquette, WDMJ 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Speedy Blaze. Speedy Blaze is a safe, clean, water-resistant alternative to firewood, and it's safe to cook over because it's made from recycled hardwood. Your fire pit, your patio fire pit, even your grill, your campfire, your fireplace, anywhere you could use wood, you can use Speedy Blaze, but it's more convenient, it's safe, and a Michigan-based company. Did I mention that? A family-owned Michigan-based company, and you know I love that. Check them out online at speedyblaze.com. That's speedyblaze.com. While you're online, check out duncansoutdoors.com. No, duncansoutdoor.com. No S on there. duncansoutdoor.com, the online presence of Duncan's Outdoor Shop. We find them in Bay City, which is where we find Glen Duncan. Glenn, even though you guys have been in business forever, you started in Saginaw, moved the business to Bay City several years ago. You're doing gun sales online as well, aren't you?
Yes, that has been a great opening for us, and that we have able to sell now guns in all around the United States and stuff. And because I have a California license also, we're selling in California guns also. So it's really a neat new move since the virus got started. We had an online store, but after the virus got started, we was able to take our 90% of our inventory, put it on our website. Also working with 12 other distributors, working with their inventory and stuff. So if it says in store, that means it's here and it's sitting here on the shelf. And if it doesn't say that, then it'll be one of our distributors, and that we get it normally within a week at the max that we get these items in and stuff. So you can go online, pay for it online. You can come to the parking lot and pull in, and we'll bring the guns out to you and the paperwork and get all the paperwork done as normally you had to do inside. You couldn't do out in the parking lot sales. That was against the law. And we worked with ATF in Detroit and also in Washington, and it helped getting this program together so that the whole United States now, dealers that could go and actually work out of their parking lot and not have to be in the store, so we didn't have to worry about the virus.
I think an important point to clarify here, because people are going to say, "Oh my goodness, you can buy a gun on," because this is what the anti's been saying forever. You can go online and buy a gun. You buy a machine gun. You don't have to do any paperwork or anything like that. No, the regulations, the rules, the restrictions, the paperwork is still there, right?
All the paperwork's there. Yes, we just try to make it a little bit easier for you, and so we bring out the documents to you, and you sign. Then we go back in. We get on the phone and do the next background checks and all the background checks properly that need to be done, and then we come back out and finish up the forms and stuff. So if it's an online sale, and when you get here in the parking lot, you're going to actually have to plan about a half hour or 40 minutes because of going back in and out and stuff, where we're not having you right at the counter, but we're trying to keep you away from everybody else.
Well, your guys are getting their exercise in then.
Oh man, some days they're in and out, and they need you still. Even when you want to come in, make sure you call ahead of time when you get in the parking lot, so that way we can get you inside. We don't want too many people inside, so you're too close together. So we're trying to keep that spacing, and we're not as big as Jay's. Jeff and Jay's are got a lot more space and stuff. They really narrowed down their gun department space because of the virus and stuff, and with all the other stuff to look at Jay's, it makes it greater. We don't have all that space, so we have to keep our numbers low. And so please work with us. Please help us to meet the requirements for the virus, because it's really important that we all work together.
When I called you the other day, I was originally thinking, boy, this would be a good time. We're getting to midsummer here to talk about gun maintenance, gun repair, because a lot of times, at least our hunting guns, we forget about them until the fall, then there's a big rush to get them fixed or sighted in or whatever. But I still think that's a valid topic, Glenn.
Well, right now is a good time to get your guns in. We're not that our gunsmiths are working every day, and so if you have a gun problem, do it now. Don't wait till fall and worry about getting it done. So Also, we've talked in the past that this is not a bad time to get in and get your gun sighted in and start working with your new loads. A lot of people are doing reloading this year for the first time, and so they need to get that ammo out and shoot it. And if they're reloading and it's kind of new or they're changing the loads, don't load 20 rounds, load 5 or 6 rounds, and then have a couple different grains of powder and stuff, and bring it in and try it and see how it groups and see what one works for you. Because as Mike, you found out a few years ago that you think you got the right ammo and you get it in, and it's a good brand of ammo, and you find out your gun doesn't like that, but everybody else does. Well, you need to find out what works in your gun the best.
And what will work is going to be Federal Fusion because it works in every gun. Right?
It does a pretty good job, right?
So just save your time, save your money, go pick up Federal Fusion, and you'll be good to go.
It's more fun to reload, though.
All right, Glenn, always a pleasure. I'm glad the doors are back open, and thank you for your insight into the firearms industry, because you are a Michigan guy, but you're connected across the country, and you got your fingers in a lot of things, and we appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate you guys, too. Good luck fishing this summer.
All right. Absolutely. I appreciate that. Glen Duncan of Duncan's Outdoor Shop in Bay City, duncansoutdoor.com, duncansoutdoor.com. While you're online, I would encourage you to check out my website, mikeaveryoutdoors.com, and all the different various and sundry social media outlets as well. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, we're going to check in with Dr. Kelly Wirsing, who I had the pleasure of taking her and her family fishing on Saginaw Bay, and she's a very interesting person. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Alpena on WZTK. That's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY AM and FM. That's 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in the Sioux on ESPN 1400 WKNW. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination and your Mid-Michigan Tracker and Angler Quest headquarters. For more info, check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. I actually found myself fishing off from Linwood Beach Marina for the first time this year. I've been fishing the east side of the bay for the most part, but had to go over to Linwood to find fish. 19 feet of water, number 7 flicker shads. You know I love those. 2 colors of lead with spoons. And it was a very, very wonderful day. I had the opportunity to fish with Dr. Kelly Wirsing and her family, her husband Doug, her daughter Renee, her son Brian, and it was a wonderful day on the water. Dr. Wirsing is a surgeon out of Midland. She specializes in breast cancer treatment, but she's also a hardcore fisherman. And she was the high bidder in the Real Men Wear Pink online auction last fall that we did to raise money to fight breast cancer. So how cool is that? And I thought it was such a special experience, I wanted to get Dr. Wirsing on the air to talk with her a little bit more. Doctor, welcome to the Outdoor Magazine radio show.
Oh, thanks, Mike. It's wonderful to be here with you.
It was wonderful to spend time with you and your family on the water.
Well, we had the time of our life. I still can't believe it happened.
Well, it was really nice. It was nice to get to meet you and get to know you a little bit and your family. And thank you for what you do. You know, this whole breast cancer campaign is a very personal campaign to me. I've lost people, I've lost friends, I've lost family members, and what you're doing to fight this all is just wonderful. God bless you. Well,
thank you.
And then to get involved in the Real Men Wear Pink campaign, that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, I'm just so glad you participated in the Real Men Wear Pink campaign. You raised a lot of money for a good cause.
We did a good job. With your help, we did a good job. But now let's talk about something else. I was pleasantly surprised to find out what a hardcore angler you are.
I'm not very good, but I learned a lot from you.
Well, no, you and your husband, you fish the northern part of the bay a lot. I mean, you're out there quite a bit, aren't you?
We are pretty much every weekend, as long as the weather permits.
But until now, you've been primarily what, fishing crawlers?
Yes, pretty exclusively crawlers. Some crankbait here and there, but mostly crawlers.
Well, you now know that crawlers are not allowed on my Angler Quest.
I do know that. Yes.
So, what did you find interesting about that day? Because I mean, you're not newbies. I mean, you guys have a lot of experience on the water, but you came down to a different part of the bay and you fished a little bit differently. What was that like for you? What did you learn?
It was really fun watching how you fish and the lures you use with the flicker shads. We've never used flicker shads. I didn't even know what a flicker shad was until I saw them there on your boat. And then also the lead core lines. Never even heard of lead core lines before, but just the different things you use to see what the fish are biting on, and then also those big tadpoles that you have. It was just great to see that you don't need crawlers to catch walleye.
Well, I was so impressed because I thought, well, a surgeon, a doctor, she's just going to sit back. I couldn't get you to sit back. You wanted to jump, and I loved it. Jump in, set rods, take fish out of the net, which scared me. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, your hands are worth. I mean, they save people's lives, and you're in there. You're taking hooks out. I love the way you got so involved.
I'm more of a doer than a watcher, so that was great. Although my netting was pretty. There's a lot to be desired there. Losing a couple fish because of me.
Well, you know what? Everybody loses fish at the net. That is part of fishing. We had fish come unbuttoned. We had fish come unhooked. We did catch a few sheephead, but this whole netting thing, I mean, that's just part of the process. You're not going to land every fish that you hook. But we had a pretty good day.
We had a great day.
Well, it was a great day because I had a chance to spend some time with you and your family. And again, I just wanted to publicly thank you for everything you're doing in the fight. And once I posted your picture, I had a lot of people come out and say, we love Dr. Wirsing. She was a godsend to our family when we were at a very critical, a very low time. So again, thanks for everything. Thanks for being a part of the Real Men Wear Pink. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to get to know you and your family a little bit.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Micah. We'll never forget that day.
Well, let's do it again sometime.
That sounds great.
All right, Dr. Wirsing, appreciate your time. Dr. Kelly Wirsing, really a very, very nice person. Just really blessed to get to spend some time on the water with her and her family. And she loves to fish, and how cool is that? And thank you to the Real Men Wear Pink campaign, the American Cancer Society, for what they do and for allowing me to be a part of that campaign. It's going to wrap up this first hour of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. When we come back, a guy I have so much respect for. He was supposed to be fishing today, but the wind has kept him on shore. Lance Valentine of Walleye 101 and teachingfishing.com. We're going to talk a little electronics, I think, probably, and how to interpret your electronics and get the most out of them. Then Ted Harpham of Darton Archery. They are back in business after the COVID shutdown. They're making a limited number of bows. I want to talk to him about the archery industry in general. And then this week's Ask Avery segment, responding to some criticism I got for keeping some Saginaw Bay walleye to take home and put on the table. That's coming up in hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Forward Corporation and T.R. McTaggart, Angler Quest Boats, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine show, right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network, 29 AM and FM stations across the great state of Michigan, and glad to have you along with us. Most of our affiliates carry all 3 hours of the show. Not all of them do. And by the way, I think the best way to listen to Outdoor Magazine Radio is on your local radio station. This show is designed, produced, scheduled, recorded as a radio show. It just happens to be made available as a podcast as well. So if you live in some part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal of the show, or if your local affiliate doesn't carry all 3 hours, you can always hear the entire show online as a podcast. You can find it many places. I would send you, first of all, to my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's kind of the clearinghouse for all things Outdoor Magazine Radio and Mike Avery Outdoors. I put it up on the Facebook page, the Mike Avery Outdoors Facebook page, every Sunday afternoon. It's out there on the Twitter feed as well. I put it out on LinkedIn, on iTunes, on Google Play, on our mobile app for your Android or your iPhone. It's on iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, radio.com. I even put it out there on YouTube. I know it seems crazy to put a radio show podcast out there on YouTube, but it's there. So any place that you listen to your podcasts, you can probably hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine Radio show. Regardless of how you listen, the fact that you do listen, the fact that you're hearing my voice right now, sincerely, truly does mean a lot to me. I thank you, and I appreciate it very, very much. You know, a lot of people I deal in the outdoor world, right? The outdoor industry. So that's my frame of reference. So that's where I come from. A lot of people in my world these days are trying to capitalize on the whole social media, online video, podcasting as a way to increase their footprint in the outdoor world. Now, Lance Valentine of Walleye 101 and Teaching Fishing does a very good job of that. Lance's footprint in the world of fishing is pretty darn big, but he's always looking for ways to reach more people and teach more people. And Lance, I got to tell you, he's one of the most interesting fishing educators that I know, and it's always a pleasure to have him here on the show. And he's with us today. He was supposed to be on the water, but it's a blow day, and he's on shore, and he can talk to us. And Lance, I'm always glad to have you along with us.
I appreciate that, Mike. Always appreciate the invitation. Always humbled that someone like you wants to hear what I have to say. I appreciate it very much.
You know I want to know what you have to say. Hey, I'm hearing a little background noise. You must be out at the boat right now, huh?
I am. We're up here at Limit Beach Marina. We're in the Angler Quest. We just got the Angler Quest in the water late last week. We've done, 5 or 6 charter days, and it's time to do a little bit of cleaning. We didn't do any spring cleaning because we didn't have time, so we've got vinyl to clean, we got a floor to clean, we've got lead core rods to respool and make sure they're good. We've got line counters to calibrate. We've got some new Trax Tech stuff to stick on the boat. So we got lots to do today, and it was a blow day, and I had my first mate today, so we're up here today just getting some work done.
How do you calibrate a line counter reel?
So the first thing you have to understand about line counter reels is the line counter does not actually count feet. So when you see a digit move, it's not actually a true foot unless your spool is the right diameter. So what happens is that pickup gear goes along the worm gear, and every time it moves a certain distance, the counter clicks off one digit. So we call it a foot. But if your spool isn't the right diameter, it may be 6 inches, it may be 18 inches that come off when that digit moves one. So it's not a true counter. So what we have to do is we spool a line on our reel, and we leave it on the big bulk spool. We spool it on our reel, and we have I have 2 tent stakes here that are 100 feet apart with a offshore clip at one end. We spool up our line. We leave the bulk spool on. We put a clip between the bulk spool and the tip of our rod. We zero our counter. We open the spool, and we walk 100 feet. If our counter says 100, we know we're good. We're done. So now every foot that comes off the reel, every 1 foot on the counter is going to be 1 foot of true line. If that number is higher than 100, what we need to do is actually reel it all back up, take the clip off, and actually add more line to our spool and do it again. If that number is lower than 100, we actually need to take a line off of our spool, reclip it, and try it again. Now, what guys have to understand is this. A lot of guys will calibrate and go, well, I'm at 99, I'm close. I'm only a foot off. You're not, because it's not just adding another foot. Because, again, we're not measuring. we have to physically change the diameter of the spool. So depending on how tight you spool your line on, to change that counter 1 foot, maybe anywhere between 8 and 20 feet of line.
Wow.
So you may be at 99 and go, hey, I'm only a foot off, when you're really 14 feet off. So the difference the lure runs, 50 feet of line out or 64 feet of line out is a big difference. So if you're not being able to duplicate different rods on your boat, one rod works, the other one doesn't, the same on the counter, or your buddy says, hey, I'm 40 feet back, and you go 40 and you can't catch them, the difference is going to be you're not calibrated properly. So we take all of our reels about twice a year. We pull all the line off them. We go back about 400 feet. We put 400 feet of line on there, and we respool, and we calibrate all of them to 100, so we know that we are calibrated. And again, if you use a precision trolling app, that's the way Mark did it. His line counters were calibrated before they did it, so it's not a random guess.
Wow.
It's controlling all the things you can control to be in the exact spot. And Mike, you've been out here in Saginaw Bay, some days 50 feet back catches them and 60 feet doesn't. So being in exactly that right spot is critical. So keeping those line counter combos calibrated is a huge part of being successful trolling.
And that's very interesting. And, you get halfway through the summer, you've had a few tangles, you've cut some line off. It is going to take your reels out of calibration.
Absolutely. And then what happens is you've got 1 or 2 in the boat that aren't catching them. You're fishing with 6, and you got one that's catching them, and you kind of duplicate, and you can't because it shows they all show 60 on the counter, and the one that you lost some line on is maybe only 45 feet actually in the water. Everything else is 60. All those other lures are too deep. So it's a constant deal. Monofilament line soaks up water. So the longer you fish with it, the more it's in the water, the more it's pulling on that offshore board, the more fish you're catching. It's actually stretching. It's losing its diameter. So actually, you can fish 5, 6, 7, 8 times, and you're out of calibration. One of the reasons that I use a fluorocarbon line as my main line, because fluorocarbon does not soak up water, so I don't have the issue with calibration that you used to get with monofilament, because mono does soak up water and will stretch. Fluorocarbon doesn't soak up water, so it stays the same length. It's also the reason I rig my rods is what we call the secret of the bead. So I run a rubber bead on my line. I calibrate my line counters. I put a rubber bead on my line. I tie on a crankbait snap. And then I tie on a 6-foot leader with a swivel at one end and a crankbait snap at the other. What that does is all the fish, all the gills, all the problems with my fishing line happen on my leader. If I have to change the leader, I don't have to take line off of my reel and lose my calibration. My counter stays calibrated. I just add a new leader. I never have to recalibrate that line. I'm actually on my 3rd season fishing fluorocarbon, and I'm still calibrated because I'm not working any line off of the spool, and fluorocarbon doesn't soak up water like mono does. So just a little tip there. The line you're going to use makes a big difference. A little more expensive to spool up with good fluorocarbon, but you can get 3-4 years out of it, and you don't have to recalibrate because it doesn't soak up water, it doesn't stretch, it doesn't lose the diameter on the spool.
Does it have the same diameter as 10-pound Trilene XT, though, so my app is going to be accurate?
Absolutely. So I'm running 16-pound Sunline FC crank, fluorocarbon crank. It's got a little bit of stretch built into it for running crankbaits and for trolling, and it's the same diameter as 10-pound XT, so I can read right off of the Precision Trolling app.
But it's got the strength of a 16-pound test.
Strength of a 16-pound test line, yes. So I got the same diameter as 10-pound, break strength of 16, and fluorocarbon is not negatively affected by water or sun like monofilament. You let monofilament sit in the sun, like I got my rods here on the pontoon the way you do on the Angler Quest. They're sitting in the rod arch.
Yeah, yeah.
The sun, every minute that sun's beating on it is deteriorating that nylon. Fluorocarbon is not deteriorated by sunlight, by UV rays, and it's not deteriorated by water. So monofilament is probably the worst product to fish with because water and sunlight actually destroy it and make it change the diameter of it, change the strength of it, and definitely change the quality of the break strength of it.
I've stayed away from that in the past because I thought, well, I don't want to put that much money in my reels. But if you can get a couple of years out of it, then it makes it much more cost effective.
And it's much more abrasion resistant. So putting an offshore clip, if we're running 40 back and we're 40 back, you're putting that clip in the same place. Monofilament, because again it's nylon, will have a tendency to crush and have a tendency to actually start to wear. So you got to move that. You got to move that or take that line off and do all those things. Fluorocarbon, you don't have to worry about that. The fluorocarbon that I'm using has a hard outer shell. It's very, very abrasion resistant. So I can put a clip in the same spot for 3 years, and I'm never going to see any abrasion that I would see on the monofilament. So, yes, it is more expensive, comparatively about 3 times more expensive. But if I get, 3 years out of it and I don't have that issue of having to change my line after, every 10, 12, 15 fishing trips, I'm really ahead. It's definitely something guys need to look at and kind of consider when they're respooling their trolling reels.
Lance, you are amazing. I got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, I could take the entire 3-hour show every week and talk to Lance and learn something every time. Because every time I talk with this guy, whether in person, on the phone, or here on the show, he opens my eyes to things I hadn't thought of before. And that's why he's a great guest here on Outdoor Magazine. Lance Valentine, walleye101.com and teachingfishing.com. More after the break. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK. That's 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Tawas and WIOS, AM and FM, 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. And you can hear us, let's go north of the bridge. Just go to Iron Mountain, WMIQ, 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Boning Archery. Michigan-based Boning has been a leader in the archery industry for almost 75 years now. Next year is their 75th anniversary. And throughout that time, they have continued to come up with new products to enhance your archery skills and your enjoyment of bow hunting and archery at the range as well. They've been in this since the days of Fred Bear. Roland Boning was a friend of Fred Bear's, and he came up with the adhesive to glue Fred's broadheads onto his, at the time, cedar arrow shafts. And they continue to come up with new products today. How impressive is that? 74 years, almost 75 years in the archery industry, based right here in Michigan. Check them out online at boning.com. That's BOHNING.com. While you're online, I would ask you to check out my website, which is MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and take a look at these two websites, walleye101.com and teachinfishin.com. There you will find Lance Valentine, a man who I have just the absolute utmost respect for. Lance has a blow day today, so he's on shore. He's on the angler quest. He's getting it ready to rock. And Lance, you have a new boat this year, don't you?
I do. I got a new angler quest this year. A few small little tweaks and changes, but fish is just as good and runs just as good as the old one did. So it's already stinky and
it smells like fish.
Time to clean the live well already. So it's nice to have a new boat. So it's fun every couple of years getting a new boat.
Yeah, and it's kind of a pain too. I mean, listen, it's a wonderful blessing, but it's there's a lot of work involved in that.
Yeah, I'm not on the boat, I'm extremely organized, right? I know where every little nook and cranny and every little swivel and hook and stuff is. Off the water, not so much. So when I got to take stuff out of the boat and then try to find all the stuff to put it back in the boat, that's one of the reasons we're up here today. Is I've got a box full of stuff. I'm like, oh, this needs to be on the boat. This needs to be on the boat. This needs to be on the boat. So it is, and then for us as charter captains, the inspection process, right? And with the COVID going on, it was hard to get inspected and get that all figured out. We got to have a dry dock inspection. Then we got to have a Coast Guard officer come on the boat and actually do a dockside. So that was all hard to do. We can't charter until we have that done. That was hard to get done. So yeah, it can definitely be can be frustrating, but just the ability to have a new boat every couple of years really outweighs all the little problems we got to go through.
And you're getting a late start to the season this year, aren't you?
Boy, oh boy, I'll tell you what. We did our first charter, so whatever today is, we did our first charter a week ago today, and usually by that time, I lost 86 charters on Detroit River, and I had to postpone, I think, 7 or 8 charters here on Saginaw Bay before we got started. So, those Detroit River ones will never get back. That hurts quite a bit. a lot of those guys rescheduled for next year. But again, they would have come this year. They would have rescheduled for next year anyway, and I would have got them twice. Now we're only going to get them once, so that's money that's gone. That like everybody else, we're never going to get back. But yeah, I went to the Detroit River one time for about 3 hours. A friend of mine was fishing. I went there second week of May, right before Mother's Day. I went down and spent about 4 hours jigging, and that was it. And we didn't got the boat in the water last Monday, and that's been it for me. So it is, yeah. I'll tell you what, I'm chomping at the bit.
Oh, I bet you are.
Time to go.
Well, in your somewhat limited experiences out there so far this summer, what are you seeing? Because in my experience, it's a different year. The spots that I have been able to find fish in the past, it's maybe not so much this year. What are you seeing?
So, we've been doing lots of communication with the guys through this COVID thing, and one of the words that I have used over and over and over again to describe this year is weird.
Yes.
The fish are not where they're supposed to be. There is no shallow water weeds. We spent hours with side imaging from basically the Rifle Bar all the way around in front of the state park all the way over to Callahan Reef. There's no shallow weeds. There's no shallow bait. There's no shallow fish. The water is just a goofy color. There's current coming from one direction and waves coming from a different direction, the wind coming from a third direction. The fish are in little itty-bitty pods, and they're there one day, and they're not there the next day. The word I have used to describe this year is weird. And, it's funny. Everybody I've talked to, Lance Keene, our good buddy over at Steelhead Hunter on the west side, salmon fishing, he used that same word. We've been talking to a lot of guys through our teaching fishing coffee hours that fish Lake Erie and Lake Ontario for both walleye and salmon. They're saying anything weird. Everybody has used that description for the fishing this year. It's just weird. It's just weird.
My beloved skinny water bite that I rely on so much has just absolutely disappeared.
It's gone, and that's why we're up here today. I haven't had leadcore in the water in 3 years, and there was a good leadcore bite going on. I had brought a couple rods up a couple days ago. We did a trolling boot camp, right? We actually put 4 guys on the boat. We take them out. It's not a fishing trip. We just take them out and show them how to do everything, right? How to set divers, how to set leadcore, how to tune crankbaits, how to set offshore boards, how to run tadpoles, kind of the whole hands-on process. So I had some leadcore on here to show the guys, and luckily I did, because the last 2 days, leadcore and small warrior spoons has been the deal. So I've got my first mate with me today, and we're putting together 16 leadcore rods to make sure we've got what we need. I had to pull them out of the garage. I haven't used them in 3 years, but the flicker shad bite is kind of dead. The shallow water bite is definitely dead. The high in the water column bite is all little fish. So it's just a different year, but that's part of it, right? So I was able to go back to my log books and kind of find, 2016 and 17 were the same thing. So now I feel comfortable. I kind of know where to go, where to get started, and having those records from all those years ago and saying, okay, this is what happened 3-4 years ago. Here's where I was fishing. Here's what I was doing. I'm going to do that again this year. And we're starting to get back on the fish and kind of get dialed into what's actually going on.
Well, I'll be texting you, because it's been a very, very weird year. Now, the other day, yes, I was out and I saw something that I thought I knew what I was looking at on my Lowrance, but I didn't have a complete confidence. So I sent you a screenshot of that. And you said that it looked to you, like it was a bunch of bait fish, which is what I thought too. And I will tell you this, Lance, I'm seeing more bait fish out there this year than I have in the last several years.
And small bait. I think that's why our flicker shad bite is not good right now, because all the bait, I was actually just sitting here and I physically just saw a little bird pull about a 1-inch minnow out of the water right next to the Angler Quest here, and that's what we're seeing. No matter where you go, as deep as you can see and as far off to the side you can see, the water is loaded with these little 1, 1.25, maybe 1.5-inch bait. I think they're all shiners. That's what they look like when they get regurgitated in the live well. They look like this year's shiner hatch, but they are everywhere. And I think that's why the little spoon bite is producing a whole lot more than the flicker shad bite is, because the flicker shad is too big. It's not the right shape. It's not the right size. Those little spoons, the little warrior spoons or little stinger spoons, those are perfect imitators of what what the fish are feeding on, and that's why I think the little bait is doing a whole lot better than the traditional flicker shads are right now. So the bait is healthy. It's loaded with bait. Sometimes we can get too much bait. I think that's part of the situation we have right now is just too much bait.
That's a good problem to have, though, right? Better too much than not enough.
Yeah, it is, and we're seeing it because, remember, those little bait fish, they feed on plankton, right? So they're at the surface. So the fish that we are catching, the 18, 20, 22, 23, we had a 26.5 incher the other day, but those core fish for up here, those 16 to 20 inchers, we're catching those 14, 15, 17, 18, 19 feet down over 20 to 25 feet of water because all of the little bait is up top. So these bigger fish are actually down feeding on different bait in the middle of the water column and on the bottom. So the guys are fishing high, those 50, 60, 70 foot back on flicker shads that we traditionally catch this time of year. All they're catching are little fish. So we're getting down with 3-color, 4-color lead core. We're running tadpoles back, 45 to 50 feet. We're running 30 jets back 60, 90, 100 feet. Getting down to that 15, 16, 18, 20 foot of the water column where these bigger fish are that are larger fish, and they're not as negatively affected by all the bait. So we've got to kind of find the right part of the water column to actually fish for fish that actually don't have as much bait and definitely, want to bite a lot better than those fish that are high in the water column that are loaded with bait.
I've been seeing a lot of fish down deep, too. Like, out in 23, 25 feet of water, a lot. I mean, a lot of fish suspended just off the bottom.
Yeah, and those are good fish. Like I said, we had a 26.5 and a 24-incher on Sunday, and those were both caught on a tadpole, I think 52 or 54 feet back, so with a small spoon. So they're down there, and those were our two big fish. The only two fish that the tadpole took the other day, but they were the two big ones. Our 3-color and 4-color lead core took the most fish and took the highest percentage of keepers. Anything higher than that 10-foot took a bunch of throwbacks. Then our divers, so here's something else. Even though our divers were at the same exact depth as our lead core was, that diver is what I call a hard pull. It's a very, very aggressive pull, and it pulls that spoon forward and gives that spoon a little side-to-side snap, whereas lead core is a real long, I call it soft pull. The spoon is just kind of floating back there behind that lead core. So we had divers at the same exact depth that our lead core was catching fish, and we caught 10 times more fish on the lead core and infinitely more keepers on the lead core than we did in the diver. So same depth, same spoon, same color, same everything, but that diver pulls different than the lead core does, and right now they don't want that aggressive hard pull from a diver. They want that soft pull from a lead core. So you can get your bait to the right depth, but have it on the wrong diving device that changes the action and not have a good day where a different diving device can actually make that lure act different and catch more fish in the same exact spot.
You got to have a lot of tools in the toolbox, don't you?
Yeah, jet divers, diver discs, lead core, tadpoles, inline weights, snap weights. And again, you can get all 6 of those diving devices to the same exact depth with the same exact spoon, and almost every day one of those is going to outproduce the others. I have guys asking, well, can I reproduce lead core with a snap weight? I'm like, no, I tried, because when I first got here, I fought lead core. You know the guys up here, Jeff Godey and Dick Donovan.
Brad,
you know the guys up here, and they're all Brad and Debbie. They're all lead core guys, right? So I fought it. I'm like, okay, there's no way I can get to the same depth with a snap weight. I can get the same depth. I know how to do this depth control well. After getting my butt kicked for a day after day after day, I'm like, okay, I'm going to put some lead core out here. So the diving device, your depth control device, can have a huge difference on how many fish you catch. A lot of guys don't think about these little things.
Lance,
your diving device and how it moves through the water can absolutely have a big impact on how many fish you catch every day.
We are absolutely out of time. Like I said, I could talk to you for 3 hours. Good fishing to you. Have fun with that lead core, and you and I will talk again soon. Lance Valentine, walleye101.com, teachingfishing.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, Ted Harpham of Dart and Archery right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Caro on WKYO. That's 1360 AM. You can hear us in Flint on in Flint on Super Talk 1570 WWCK, and in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by MUCC's On the Ground program. OTG is a program to improve habitat for fish and wildlife across the state. For details, check out the Michigan United Conservation Club's website, mucc.org. That's mucc.org. While you are on that website, a reminder, you can save 25% on your MUCC membership, either your first time signing up or your renewal. use the promo code Mike, all caps, M-I-K-E, and save 25% on your MUCC membership. How cool is that? While you're online, head to this website, dartonarchery.com. Dartonarchery.com, the website of Michigan-based, family-owned Dart Archery. Need I say more? I shot dart and bows and crossbows for many, many, many years. Ted Harpham, the marketing manager for Dart and Archery, a good friend of mine, with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Ted, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Mike. Thanks.
Listen, I know, like many businesses, you guys were shut down for a while during the heat of the COVID situation. Are you back now? Are you making bows now?
Yeah, Mike, we are. We kind of abided by all the rules. We didn't, trying to sneak in and do different things. We did shut down for a while. We kept the phone lines going and stuff, but we're back. We're about 70% back up and running right now. We should probably be 100%, I would guess, probably by the first of the week.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. That's good to hear. It's got to be a hit, though. I mean, to be out of production for that long.
Oh, Mike, it's definitely a hit. There's no question about it. I think in our industry, in the archery industry, of course, it's not an essential, so it was tough for everybody. I mean, I've talked to many, many dealers across the country that have felt this pain. I mean, the monies, the people not being able to get out and do anything, and all the local ranges and stuff around the country, and all the big tournaments were shut down. We do have the London ASA shoot, which is the first one coming up here this coming weekend down in London, Kentucky, which is pretty awesome, which we didn't think was going to happen, but that's on now.
Well, yeah, the entire archery industry is like many of them right now, is hurting, but and forgive me for saying this, Ted, but I feel like some of the bow makers, in particular the bigger bow makers, brought some of this on themselves by pricing themselves just out of the market. How can you charge $1,500 for a new bow and expect people to go out and buy new bows every year?
Well, that's changed dramatically over the last few years for sure. There's no question about that. And at Dart and Archery, I mean, I can tell you from my side of the fence, we've done just the opposite. We've actually, all our bows are handmade, hand manufactured right here in Hale, Michigan, and we actually lowered our pricing. We lowered our map pricing. We were selling our bows at $1,000, and now we're at $897. And we want to make it affordable for people to be able to go out and purchase the latest, greatest archery equipment. For so many years, I mean, every single year, the technology just kept getting better and better and better. Well, now we're at a plateau where, every bow is good. There's no question about it. And the cam systems, they're all high performance. Everything is shooting really, really well. Now it gets down to dollars and cents. What bow fits you the best and what can you afford? And especially in these times, I just thought it was a smart move on our part to look at the other side of this thing and maybe lower the prices if we can, so more consumers can get out there and take a look at the latest, greatest technology. Our new E system, our Spectra E, that we've got out there today, and that system is being put on other bows now. We've got it on the Tempest. We got the Tempest ET, and so we've got some new technology that's going to be hitting the streets that people have never seen before. And of course, Rex Darlington, the owner and head engineer of Dart and Archery, leads this industry in technology. So it's exciting on that side for us.
Well, and what about crossbows? They've really dropped off in sales the past few years, haven't they, or not?
Well, Mike, and I hate to say this, we build our crossbows again right here in Hale, Michigan, and a lot of these manufacturers today and companies and businesses are bringing the crossbows in from overseas. I can't compete against a crossbow that's a total package that sells for $299 or $349. And you get what you pay for. Again, our crossbows, we're still running in the same game as we were before. They're our lower end crossbow, which doesn't take away from any part of the technology and the quality. Like our Toxin 100, it still has the larger foot strip. It still has the 2-point trackless rail system. It still has reverse bolt retainer spring, the upgraded trigger system, and it still now it sells for $599. If you put a package on it, depending on what package you pick, it could go up to $600, $700, $800. But some of these guys now, they went from one extreme to the other. They've got the bows at $299, $349, and then they jump all the way up to $29.99.
Oh yeah,
$34.99. I don't mention any names, but
but it rhymes with Raven.
Right. So I don't know. I guess from my standpoint, I've been doing this for a long time with Rex, and we're not out there to take advantage of anybody. We want the best shooting equipment for the best dollar you can spend.
And you've proven that, Ted. You've proven that over all these years, and I think it's wonderful that Dart and Archery is back making bows again and making them right here in Hale, Michigan. Thank you, Ted, for your time. I'll send people to the website once again, dartonarchery.com. That's dartonarchery.com. Great products made here in Michigan, a fixture in the archery industry for a very, very long time. We'll take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, this week's Ask Avery segment. A question, somebody saying that I was not a very nice person because I occasionally keep a walleye to eat. I'll respond to that after the break. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Houghton Lake on the Twister 92.1 WTWS. You can hear us in Holland on WHTC, AM and FM, 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. And north of the bridge in Ishpeming on WIAN, that's 1240 AM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you every week by Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. What the Ask Avery segment is, it's a weekly part of the program where you have the opportunity to ask me a question. It can be directed at me, that you want the response from me. It can be a question you suggest to me that I could ask to somebody else, like, for example, somebody in the DNR or someplace that you might not be able to get access to that maybe I can. You can send those questions to me via email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. In fact, you can always reach me. mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com is my email address. You can post them on social media. You can send them to me in a text if you know my phone number. I mean, I've had these questions come in just about every imaginable way. This week's Ask Avery segment is not really a question that was asked me, but a comment made about me, and I want to respond to it. Earlier in the week, I think this was late last week, I posted on my Facebook page. I think, if I remember right, it was pictures of me and Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats. We're kneeling at the back of the Angler Quest, and we're each holding up a fish or two, just average eater-size Saginaw Bay walleye. And I had a lady, and I won't give you her name, a lady came on there and said, and I don't have it in front of me, and she deleted the comment after she got a bunch of grief, so I can't tell you verbatim what it was, but it was basically, you're a terrible person. You are doing something completely wrong by keeping fish. She said it's okay to fish, but you can't keep fish. Now, in talking with her online, what it came down to was her dad had told her it's okay to fish, but you can never keep fish. You're a terrible person if you keep fish to eat them. This is so wrong from so many different angles. I just want to bang my head against a concrete wall until it bleeds and runs down my nose. First of all, if people are out there legally enjoying an outdoor resource, I say let them have fun. Let them do it. You don't need to interject your personal bias into that situation, but that's a whole nother topic. And I do agree that there are certain fisheries where it's a good idea not to keep fish. For example, the holy waters of the Asable. You wouldn't want to go up there and keep a bunch of trout out of there. It would affect the resource. But there are some fisheries, like the Lake Michigan salmon fishery, the Lake Erie or Saginaw Bay walleye fisheries, that's not the case. And furthermore, I'll be honest with you, I don't keep that many fish because I don't like to eat fish. And if I'm not going to eat them, I don't want to clean them. So when I'm fishing by myself, all of the fish I catch, almost all of the fish I catch, always go back into the bay. If I have people with me who want to take fish home, yes, we will take some fish home. So I'm not a big fan of eating fish, so I really don't take that many fish. But that's not really the point, is it? On Saginaw Bay, the latest estimates from the DNR is that there are 5.5 million adult walleye. That's a walleye over 2 years old. 5.5 million. To the point where there are no longer any fish planting programs on the bay. It's all completely natural reproduction. There are so many fish in Saginaw Bay that the DNR biologists, the experts, wanted us to take more. So, a few years ago, they decreased the size limit from 15 inches down to 13 inches, and they increased the daily catch limit from 5 fish up to 8 fish because they want to thin out the population there so it doesn't hit the bait fish so hard. DNR numbers. I gotta put my glasses on here. The catch rate for Saginaw Bay. In 2017 was like 350,000 fish. And that was a lot because we had a good ice fishing year. It averages about 300,000 fish a year that sport fishermen catch, either trolling or ice fishing, and this also takes into account the charter captain's catch as well. So out of 5.5 million fish, 300,000 or so a year are being caught. And Mother Nature keeps putting fish back into that system through natural reproduction. Legal sport fishing is not going to hurt a resource like the Saginaw Bay walleye fishery or the Lake Michigan salmon fishery or the Lake Erie walleye fishery. It's not going to hurt it. So me posing with a couple of fish to take home for the grill does not make me a terrible person. It makes me a person who likes to fish. If you would like to send a question to the Ask Avery segment, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. And thank you to the folks at Security Credit Union for helping to make this possible. That's securitycu.org, securitycu.org. Mark Martin coming up in hour number 3.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Forward Corporation and T.R. McTaggart, Angler Quest Boats, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Oh, thank you, Ken Hunter. Yes, indeed, this is Mike Avery, and welcome to our number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine show. As we basically, wrap up the month of June, right? Next time we talk, it'll be, next time we talk, it'll be 4th of July weekend. Right, Pat? Yeah. Wow. How did it get to be that point in the summertime already? I think it's the fact that everything has been so screwed up this year, and maybe our mental and even our biological clocks are a little bit off. We feel like we lost some time this year, but it's getting to be midsummer. That time of year when, we dream about this. This is what we think about, right? A lot of us, at least. Gets to be February and March, and you start thinking, man, wouldn't it be nice? It'd be June, July, be out there in the water, go up north, go to the cabin, go out in the boat. So now is the time to be doing that. And because it's been such a screwy year, maybe we need to do it even more this year. So I know maybe you're trying to catch up for losing some time. Maybe the money's a little tight this year because you've been off work. I get that. But for your mental health, for your emotional health, for your spiritual well-being, you got to take the time. You got to take the time to get away and get outdoors and get in the woods and get on the water. Just reconnect with Mother Nature. Disconnect from this technologically advanced world that we all live in that actually I love so much, but you got to get away from it. You have to. I have been so lucky and so blessed throughout my entire career. Just the people I've had a chance to meet, the people I've had a chance to talk with, the people I've had a chance to hunt with and fish with, and I have learned so much from this show just by, I don't want to say interviewing people because I don't like to think of it as an interview. I like to think of it as a conversation. But having conversations with just people who are at the top of their game. And certainly, Mark Martin is one of those people. Back in 1990, he won the first national walleye championship after setting himself apart as a fantastic walleye fishing guide, originally known for fishing the channel in Muskegon Lake and Muskegon Lake itself. He went on to fish the different walleye trails. These days, he's known as a fishing educator. By the way, a member of the Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame. How cool is that? And even cooler, he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Mark, welcome back.
Hey, glad to be back, Mike. It's always a pleasure to talk with you and your audience.
Well, the pleasure is mine. And where do we find you? Are you up north right now?
Yep. I'm up here in the Keweenaw Peninsula, and fish are really biting up here. What do you want to go do? The fish are ready to cooperate, which is unbelievable, right?
That's a pretty good spot to be in. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Considered. They finally got their first confirmed virus up here.
Oh, they
after
did?
All this time. Yep, exactly. Not a couple weeks ago, but I feel fortunate that it feels like I'm sheltering in place even when I'm outside up here.
And hey, listen, what is it about the Keweenaw that made you kind of settle into that area as your second home?
Well, it was years ago when Gary Roach and I did outdoor writer events across the nation and Michigan. I said, Gary, we got to go up here because nobody has ever talked about it. I don't know much about it. I've really never been up here. Well, how are we going to catch fish if you don't know? And I've never been there. I said, we'll just use our knowledge of when we go to fish a tournament on a new lake. Let's attack this whole peninsula on that per se. So for every 3 days, we brought in a new outdoor writer, new media for 2 weeks straight. And we fished every corner of this peninsula, and I seen how beautiful it was. I seen the quality of the surroundings, the fishery, the people. It was like, people want to come here or have to come here. They're not on their way to Duluth. They're not on their way to Saginaw Bay. If they want to come here, they got to turn and head up north on 41 or 26. Otherwise, it's not a cross-through traffic area, so a lot of people don't come. And I think that's why all these, the beauty of it and the fishery has just never really changed. And like I was saying, I'm going out walleye fishing here in a little bit, and then I'm getting prepared to head down for my school on Saginaw Bay starting this weekend.
Are there still places there in the Keweenaw? Can you go out on a lake and be the only person there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I was on this past weekend. I think I never seen anybody, and we were done in 3 hours with, and of course I didn't have a boat, I didn't have my boat. I've been relying on other people, my friends up here that I've taken for years, and now they're paying me back by letting me fish with them, or usually a lot of times I fish with them, but I'm operating in the boat, so it's fun. And we caught 15 nice walleye up to 7 pounds out of Portage Lake.
Wow.
On crawler harnesses in about less than 3 hours.
Are you boatless right now?
Yeah. Well, I just got my boat in on this last Friday. Win Matson at Matson Marine called me, and he says, your boat's in, we're putting it together. It's going to take a little while, but they closed down completely since it was March. They were closed down, and they just... Yeah, so I would have been, I had a boat way before now, but because of everything, that's where I'm standing. Thank goodness. Well, not thank goodness. I haven't really needed it, but I sure would have enjoyed my boat. But I think it looks like I'm going to have it for the first tournament that I'll fish on the MWT, and the only one they're going to have this year on Saginaw Bay is the championship. So at least it'll be in time for that July event.
Hey, what do you think of that deal with Evinrude?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I have talked to some of my compadres at Mercury, and they're, it's and I've talked to some of my compadres that were sponsored by Evinrude. Like I said, were sponsored by Evinrude, and they're kind of in dismay and don't know where they're going, and it's kind of up in limbo right now. And Mercury is supplying Evinrude's boats with Mercury's, which is, and they don't know what's going to happen to the brand itself, if they are going to, what's going to happen if they're going to be able to start back up and take off again, or somebody else like Mercury's going to get them and start up again.
Well, that's kind of the rumor I've been hearing, but you would have some good insight there. Is there any chance of that?
Yeah. I kind of know, but I don't want to.
I got you. I got you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
if I say it, they're going to know I said it.
Yeah.
So right. I got as close as I could without getting caught.
I got you. I understand. Well, that'll be interesting. But it's the outdoor industry. I think probably like all industries these days, these big corporate conglomerates, they come in and they buy up these smaller companies and buy up these smaller companies, and I feel like there's no longer any loyalty at that point. It's just strictly business decisions, the bottom line. And I get that, but it's sad in a lot of ways.
Right. It's the people that actually promoted the brands and got other people because of their excitability of running the product to get the rest of the nation on board with their excitability, and all of a sudden those are the people that get first. They are always the ones that get hurt first, and I feel sorry for them because I talk to my compadres that run Evinrude and promote Evinrude. They are, dismayed, to say the least, I guess, because they don't know where they're even going, because at this point, Mercury's full up, Suzuki's full up, Yamaha's full up. They're lost. And I feel and then their, form of living is changed. So this whole thing that's happened to everybody hasn't left people immune at any walk of life.
Yeah. Well, I think holing up in the Keweenaw for a while. I think you're a smart man.
Since April.
Since April.
End of April.
Yeah, really. Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, hang tight, Mark. Listen, we got to take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. We're talking with Mark Martin. You know Mark Martin. You can find him online at markmartins.net. That's markmartins with an S.net. Also, fishingvacationschool.com. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that after the break. Mark said he's heading downstate to Saginaw Bay. There's been, I know. Listen, I will admit, there's been a lot of talk about Saginaw Bay on the show this week, and I'm prepared for the grief. People say, Avery, you talk about Saginaw Bay too much. And that is a valid criticism. I get that. I understand that. And this week, a little more than usual. So I do my best to cover as many different bodies of water, as many different fisheries around the state. But because that is my home body of water and I spend a lot of time out there, That tends to be what I talk about when I talk about my personal experiences. And it is a world-class fishery. Take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, more with Mark Martin, who is currently holed up in the Keweenaw and enjoying the beauty and the fishery there. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Ludington on News 97, 98, 98.7 WLDN. You can hear us in Mount Pleasant on WMMI, AM and FM, 830 AM, 92.3 FM. And let's stay basic. Well, let's go to Muskegon. Let's do a West Michigan tour. You can hear us in Muskegon on WKBZ. That's 1090 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Wilds Plumbing and Heating. Plumbing, heating, air conditioning, cooling, cleaning your ductwork. In fact, I've got the guys at Wilds coming in the next couple of days to do a air conditioning tune-up, although we had to run our air conditioning a fair amount here a few days ago. Everything to keep you warm, dry, comfortable, the mechanics of your house running smoothly. Wilds can help you out. Check out their website, wildsplumbingandheating.com. That's wildsplumbingandheating.com. While you're online, my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. And check out these two websites, Mark Martin's, with an S, markmartins.net, and fishingvacationschool.com. We're talking with Mark Martin right now. Mark, other than the walleye there in the Keweenaw, have you had a chance to get out, chase anything else? Have you been out chasing any silverfish at all?
Yeah. I was out 2 days ago with my buddy out here on Lake Superior, and we got a bunch of salmon, cohos, and lake trout, and two splake out here. So we were doing pretty darn good considering we were out less than 4 hours, and we were only out about 2 miles off the shore, and then about a few days before that, went with my other buddy, and we went jigging for lake trout in 200 feet of water with 6-pound fire line and snap wraps and ripping wraps, and we caught our limit of lake trout up to about 10 pounds. And that's always a lot of fun. You mark them down there, and it's just like ice fishing, pretty much. And then we casted the shoreline and caught some splake and even a nice brook trout that was not quite 20 inches, but, right there, about 19-something. Got some pictures of it and put it back in, and it's just amazing. You just don't know what you're going to get. And then I've been fishing portage and torch up here, and Lac La Belle, and doing well on smallmouth and northerns and walleye. I mean, this whole area is on fire. Right now is the time you want to come up and fish it, because you let it go, you're going to get into the dog days of summer. You can still come up here and do really well, but right now your expertise level doesn't have to be quite as tuned in as it will here shortly when they are, the water gets too warm. Right now it's right at about 72 degrees, and they're popping for the walleye, smallmouth, and northern, and the water's just starting to warm up good out here in Keweenaw Bay, and Betty Gree and Lake Superior, to where that's pulling the fish in right by shore with a little bit warmer water. So you got a potpourri. What do you want to do?
Man,
bring a boat and go fishing.
Have you had a chance to chase any brookies? Because I remember a story you told me a couple of years ago with your buddies there on how you guys were slamming the brookies, and a pretty cool adventure that was as well.
Oh, I forgot about that. I've done more of that this year than I have since I've been a kid with my buddies up here in belly boats. In fact, you met one of my friends, and we went down to Saginaw Bay a couple of weeks ago and caught walleyes, and he says, "Oh yeah, that Mike Avery, he's a really nice guy, and he listens to you now on the radio because now he knows you."
Yeah, good.
And so he brought your name up while we were fishing, but he is an expert at going and picking out the sections, and he knows how long it takes to drift from this section to this section, how many beaver dams there's going to be, how many log jams we got to get out and go around. But I'll tell you what, I took one brookie so far that was just under 15. The biggest one we got between three of us that have gone has been over 15, and the average size, because you're getting back so far in these float tubes where people can't access because of the brush, and you just wouldn't want to. You'd be sapped of blood by all these creatures that bite you, but you're in the creek and you're not disturbing them as much. And we're using spinners, and I got these guys hooked on jigs, but the biggest brookie has been almost 16 inches.
Wow.
And I know, I couldn't believe it. We've had bigger ones that are similar size ones on, but they came off before they came to the net. But jigging, they always use spinners and stuff like that. And one day they just weren't hitting them that good. And I had a whole bunch in my creel, I had some small jigs that I just happened to throw in there, some 16th ounce jigs. And I was fishing behind them, and I'm catching. And some of these holes are 20 feet deep. Or
really?
Deeper.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, it's not like you can touch bottom anywhere you want. It's deep, and so they're only scratching the surface with spinners, and I'm getting down to the bottom of these holes, and that's probably why I had some nice fish, dropping it down and jigging with a piece of crawler or a big red worm, and just jigging it, and all of a sudden I'm catching more than they are. They go, Mark, do you have any more than jigs? I mean, these are die-hard spinner fishermen. So I've been having fun, and they're learning, I'm learning. But I would suggest to anybody, if you're going to fish any of these creeks up here, walking the bank is maybe a good way to do some of them because you can't float them, but the ones you can float, you better get in a tube and just go down with the current. And people think, well, geez, going down, you're spooking the fish. I'm catching the biggest one I caught was straight underneath me, 8 feet down in a run. And I'm just jigging like I'm vertical fishing for walleyes down the Detroit River.
Jeez.
Yeah. I think they think you're a big beaver floating down or a log or and the people that are disturbing it in front of you get them activated from the stuff they're knocking in the water or disturbing under the water. But when you don't have people fishing on the bank or anybody else up here fishing, you're in brook trout haven now.
And that would be the interesting part for me. I've spent a little bit of time in Keweenaw, but not a bunch. And that's what I was impressed with, is the lack of people and the fact that you can still be alone. Compare that now to coming down to Saginaw Bay, where I've been fishing so far this summer, and there's boats as far as you can see everywhere. So you got to do a complete complete switch in your mindset.
You got that right. I got the reality 2 weeks ago when I came down and practiced a little bit for the school I'm headed down for here shortly. And then I just wanted to get a flare of what was going on. And some of the things I noticed have changed a little. Not the fishery. The fish are there. The fish is great. But some of the stuff that I'm going to teach these students in places I'm going to have to take them to teach them some of this stuff have changed since the dams blew out. I mean, it surprised me. I mean, most people probably wouldn't even notice it, but I did because I use lead core and I'm down there ticking the bottom in certain areas. Well, guess what? I'm not getting snagged up no more. A lot of the snags are either buried or they've been pushed out, or they scrubbed the bottom clean or whatever in the river and stuff. And they were actually in the river, I think not Coast Guard, but the Geographic Survey Group, and they were going back and forth all the way up the river from the mouth all the way up, and then come back down and do a couple little sections, and they're just every 10 feet turn around, go back across 10 feet, go back and turn. They're getting a survey of the bottom after what happened to the dams. I talked to them, and they told me that.
Well, I can tell you, yeah, it is. It's. I was talking to Lance Valentine, in fact, in the second hour of the show, and he described it as a weird year out there. It's different. Like some of my favorite spots, I can't catch a fish there this year.
Right. It definitely.
Yeah.
I can see that because we had a problem. In some of the areas I expected to catch them, they were in really shallow water because the water was just the right color in close, where I would have expected them to catch in twice a depth of water, but the water was cooler than it should have been in closer. But it was the right temperature, and they're in 5, 6, 7 feet of water.
Yeah.
And we were catching them. Out in 15, 18 feet of water, we caught fish, but not like we were catching right up along where the weeds were.
Yeah. If I could fish 7 feet of water all summer long, I would do it. But this year, it's just not going to happen.
No, there are just certain areas that we came across that way. I'm looking forward to coming down there and teaching these people, how to use their own boat and do all the walleye techniques and come away when we're done feeling like they're an expert with their own equipment. Taking a charter is one thing, and trying to grasp everything on a charter, you can grasp, but when you got to do it in your own boat and you get 3 different captains coming onto your boat and showing you that same technique for 3 hours straight, the way they do it, the way I do it, the way the other guy does it, and then I get back on and we're going to do this now. And for 3 more hours, they do this on their own boat. So when the time comes on the last day of the school, they're confident. They're not going to go home and go over to another lake and go, oh, I wonder what I do now. That's not ever going to cross their thought process ever again. They're going to have the equipment, their boat set up right, and they're forward thinking. And last time I ever fished and did a school on Saginaw Bay, there was an MWT tournament like that Saturday after I got done on Wednesday. That Saturday, and 2 of these guys that were in the school, they said, do you think we could do pretty well? I said, hey, do you understand all the techniques that we all got through teaching you? He goes, oh, yeah. I said, then you'll do really well.
Wow.
They called us back after they entered it. They took 5th place in the MWT against all the hot shots. And they were nobodies to start with.
Hey, Mark, real quick before we let you go, do you have any more openings for that school?
I could probably add 1 person, and that's one boat. That's it right now. I mean, I'm right at 10 boats. I would take 11.
Right. And that's at fishingvacationschool.com, right? Fishingvacationschool.com?
Yep, that's it.
All right, Mark. Always a pleasure. I enjoy my conversations with you. Have fun there in the Keweenaw. Have fun when you come downstate on the bay, and you and I will talk again soon. Mark Martin, the website's markmartins.net, markmartins.net, and fishingvacationschool.com, fishingvacationschool.com. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, a few more things I want to talk about, and then, of course, wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner will help us wrap it all up right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in St. Joe on WSJM 94.9 FM. You can hear us in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM. And you can hear us in Saginaw on our flagship stations, News Radio 790 WSGW and WSGW FM 100.5. I say flagship, again, as always, with no disrespect to any of our affiliate stations, but I have a very close working relationship with the folks at WSGW. I'm in their studios right now, but when I'm here, it's called the Outdoor Magazine Studio. Pat Johnson with me doing a wonderful job, as always. Outdoor Magazine brought to you in part, by the way, by Reader Landscaping. Reader can take care of your lawn and property because it's your nature and our nurture. Right now, they're working on pest control, those little creepy, crawly things that sometimes in the yard want to end up places they shouldn't be. Well, the folks from Reader can help you control those. Water features. We have a beautiful water feature in our backyard put in by the folks from Reader. And they're also starting to work more on vacation properties. They're working their way up more into the North Country. to see what they have to offer, check out their website, readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. And I can tell you for a fact, there were turkeys roosted behind Reader's facilities last spring. I know that. Readerlandscaping.com. Always a pleasure to talk with Mark Martin. I'll never forget the times fishing with Mark up on the Tittabawassee, the Saginaw River, Saginaw Bay. Always be grateful to him for taking me and my dad out on the Muskegon River years and years and years ago. Not the river, but the channel, Muskegon Lake and the channel. Doing some overnight fishing for walleye. I mean, we fished all night out there. It was just really, really special. And just a great guy. And our conversation with Lance Valentine, isn't he amazing? I mean, this guy is... And then that's one of the cool things about this show. I get a chance to have conversations with people whose expertise, enthusiasm, teaching ability is just second to none. And that still makes this show fun for me. I've been doing this for a long time. And I look forward to coming into the studio, just like I did years and years ago. And that's a pretty cool place to be. Couple of business items here. I probably, as it stands right now, I will not have a Wednesday night live Wednesday night, July 1st. I have a couple things I need to take care of that night, so I will not do a Wednesday night live as it stands right now. Things could change. But in general, every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, I do a Wednesday night live on Mike Avery Outdoors on my Facebook page, on YouTube, on my Vimeo channel. Love to have you join us for that. Also, have you heard about our new Natural Resources Commission commissioners? Our governor appointed 3 new people, Carol Rose, J.R. Richardson, and Mike Lashbrook. Now, I know Carol Rose. I've worked with her several times. She was the first chairman of the Michigan Wildlife Council. She's a current member of the Michigan Wildlife Council. She's on the board of directors, or at least she's a director for MUCC. I have a lot of respect for her. I like her. She's very pro hunting and fishing. I think she's an excellent, excellent choice. J.R. Richardson, a man who has been on the NRC before. If I remember right, he was chairman of the NRC at one point. He's been around there for a long time. He has some detractors who aren't exactly pleased with everything he's done over the years. However, I think that comes with the territory. If you spend enough time in a high-profile position, you are going to make some people mad just by doing your job. So I don't put a lot of stock into that, but we know he's pro-hunting and fishing, so that's good. Mike Lashbrook, I don't know at all. Don't know him. I don't know hardly anything about him. The fact that he's a lobbyist in Lansing, I think, for the beer and wine industry, if I remember right. So we'll have to see about him. But certainly better candidates than what we saw with a previous appointee, that's for sure. And now the Senate Advice and Consent Committee still has the ability, if they want to vet these people and put them through the ringer, if they want. I don't know if they will or not. What else is on my list here? Oh, I did get my bear rug back. Scott Keatsman at Linwood Taxidermy did a wonderful job. It looks great. Thank you for that, Scott. Now anxiously awaiting July 6th, when I will find out if I got my Michigan bear tag. If you put in for a bear tag or an elk tag, you will know on July 6th as well. Good luck to you. I know that I didn't get an elk tag just because I know I didn't get an elk tag, but I really am hopeful to get a bear tag so I can fish, so I can hunt the Newberry District 3rd season near Seney with a guy named Johnny Bowler. And if I get that tag, I'll get Johnny here on the air to talk a little bit more about that and how you go through this whole process of finding a guide. Because if you live downstate, it's just about impossible. You got to have, it's legal, but it's pretty impossible to keep your baits going consistently enough to bring animals in. We will take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, we're going to wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner right here on Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. My name is Mike Avery, and I'm very, very glad to have you along with us. I would encourage you to check out the podcasts that I do. You can find those at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. And also the social media outlets, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. I'm out there posting pictures and sharing your comments and pictures as well. So I encourage you to join me there. I appreciate the fact that wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner joins me every week. And a couple of weeks ago, he did a recipe. I think it was a sheephead recipe. They got all kinds of response. David, it seems like people want to know how to cook sheephead, and you gave them some good advice.
Well, good. That's great. It's a very, very underutilized fish.
Well, they're a good fighter, I can tell you that.
Yeah, they really tug pretty good, don't they, for their size? Big one really tugs good.
Now, let me ask you here: if there is a copy of the of your cookbook still out there, is there a sheephead recipe there, or should somebody take one of the different recipes and use them as a sheephead recipe?
Yep, you could use any of the walleye and a lot of the salmon recipes. Would work really, really good too.
Okay.
Just remember, skin them deep. Get rid of that red meat. And then when you clean them, you want to get the bones out. And so you're going to end up with more strips than like a fillet.
Gotcha. And Pat tells me...
You can egg it and make it like an Orleans or any of them recipes.
Really?
Come out just great.
So a sheephead New Orleans, that doesn't even sound right. I got to be honest with you.
Oh, well, shame on you.
I know. That's all on me. I know it. and Pat tells me you got a walleye recipe for us this week.
Yeah, I got a stuffed walleye. The smaller ones would work out just great for this. You could, you want to bone them. First, you want to scale them real, real good. And then you want to gut them and take the gills out. And what you're going to do is you take a real sharp fillet knife and you lay the fish toward you. Take and run that knife along the inside so that you've got... you want to leave as much meat on the fish itself. You're not going to fillet this out. It's a whole fish. So you take and run that knife all along, all the way right down back by the tail, and then turn it over and do the same thing on the other side. Then you're going to take your fingers and your thumb, and you're going to run it along the backbone right up by the skin, and then you're going to pull the meat away, and then you can either cut or break down by the tail, or in up by the head. And so you're going to have just a packet of nice boneless meat. So set that aside. You're going to take, to do the stuffing, you want to take about a tablespoon or more of fresh chopped garlic, some tarragon to your taste, a couple of beaten up eggs, 2 cups or 3 cups of dried breadcrumbs. You probably want just the plain ones, not the Italian style. And I like to soften some cream cheese up and use in this. And if you have to, you can mix it with just a little bit of milk and then make it even more creamier, And then I like diced up shrimp. You could use either the canned, little small ones, or you can buy fresh shrimp frozen, dice it up, take the shells off and the tails, and then whatever kind of mushrooms you like, whether it's the store-bought white buttons or if you got some morels, by all means, any kind of a mushroom goes good into this. Nice big dash of soy sauce, a nice dash of Tabasco, some Parmesan cheese, and 2 to 3 tablespoons. And if you like a little color in it, you could use some fresh chopped parsley. And you need about 1/3 of a cup of small diced onion. Mix all of that together. put a little bit in the microwave and taste it. If it's to your flavor or if it's a little dry, you could add a little bit of milk to it because you want it to stick together. Just the beaten up eggs might not give it enough moisture to hold together, so it's not going to be crumbly. So you're going to lay the fish down and stuff it in from the gills all the way back. You don't want to overstuff it, so you're going to have to be able to turn this once. And if you've got a pan big enough, you want to take and flour, and then in a hot pan, you're going to put a little bit of olive oil and brown it. And then very gently, you're going to have to take a large spatula and turn it. And if you don't have a large enough pan to do that with, take and oil up a baking sheet and smear a little bit of the olive oil on the fish itself, and then lay that on that baking sheet with a little bit of either water or some white wine. Make a loose tent of aluminum foil and bake that at 350 degrees. And it can take up to 15 minutes because it's got eggs in, so you might want to get that internal temperature up to about 165, 170 degrees because it's got eggs in it. So you're going to make a sauce. You're going to take some fresh butter, some lemon, and white wine, whatever you're going to enjoy with this meal, whether it's a Chardonnay or whatever, just kind of a drier wine. You don't want a sweet wine. And cook that down for 2 or 3 minutes. Get rid of the alcohol taste, and so it's nice and creamy. You're going to lay that down on a plate, and if you got platters big enough, and if not, you could take the head off and the tail off so you got a little bit more leeway there so it's not going to hang off the plate. Put the sauce down, put the fish on top. Killer dish. Just killer.
And you timed
Little fish work the best.
You timed it perfectly, David, because we're out of time. Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire Dave Miner, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show. David, thank you very much. And you know what, folks? You are a big part of the show as well, because if you weren't listening, there'd be no reason for me to do the show, and I would be very, very sad. You can always reach me via email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, and check me out on social media during the week, and we'll talk to you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.